Hello, everyone. I'm going to kill some dead air. Can you kill the air that's already dead? Probably not. All right, so probably going to make a video about PETA tomorrow. It's going to be fun. Why am I not seeing the chat? This is peculiar. I'm usually used to seeing the chat. Now I see the chat. Great, fixed. Dungeons and Dragons is going to be in exactly 2 hours. And hopefully it's going to move the campaign along. The more people Sargon invites, the more difficult it is to keep the campaign on track. Apparently, Joel Cole gives me some great news that Trump is pulling out of Syria. That's a campaign promise right there. People were criticizing Mr. Trump that he likes Syria. He likes the Middle East, and right now apparently he's pulling out, which is quite interesting. All right, let's see some of the interesting news that I got today, because I think the topic of today is going to be whiteness. Whiteness. A lot of news regarding whiteness. It's almost like a snow avalanche. But I want a couple of more people to join before I can talk about it. Right now there's not that many. Let's see, how should I title this? The white phenomenon. The if it ain't white, it ain't right. No, hold on. If it is white, it ain't right. That's the way the journalists are categorizing it. Also, journalists who went after PewDiePie did an oopsie. This is how I'm going to call it. Like PewDiePie said it, an oopsie doopsie. I do find PewDiePie very interesting, right? And I don't mean this as an insult, but I said it before. He's like Barney the dinosaur for the Z generation. Like, think how many people used to watch PewDiePie when they were kids, and they watched him for entertainment. And it's the same with Mr. Rogers, or any one of these adults that decided to have like a television channel in order to entertain children. And PewDiePie, like it or not, he entertained a generation of kids. And to call him a white nationalist is an incredible insult that you can give. It's like, trying to call Barney the dinosaur a white nationalist. Like, people will think you're insane. That there is no way of shooting yourself in the foot as a mainstream media article than going after a person that's a child entertainer and as renowned as PewDiePie is. Kids have listened to PewDiePie for years, and they know he's not a white nationalist. And when they see that the mainstream media is attacking him like that, they're going to never trust that mainstream media outlet again. Like, this is how I also realized what mainstream media outlets I shouldn't trust. It was during Gamergate. Every time I would see a mainstream media article slandering Gamergate, I would stop trusting that publication. Because after a while, like in the beginning, I would say, well, maybe they didn't understand it, maybe they don't know what's about. But like after a long while, you would definitely realize that, okay, well, they can't be misinformed. They're doing this on purpose. Yeah, and oopsie doopsie. Apparently, Barney the dinosaur is a purple nationalist. This is what I'm thinking of when I watch Barney the dinosaur. In my town, we had this guy called Abracadabra, and he was this actor that played the magician, and he was the entertainer of Le Children. Yeah, but Barney the dinosaur was a dino statist. He was. No, but seriously, like imagine just seeing this article in the mainstream media saying that Mr. Rogers is a neo-Nazi. Like, would you take that mainstream media outlet seriously after that? And especially if it's because he said like an off-the-cuff joke, or maybe Mr. Elliot Rogers said that, oh, you should follow this guy, he's a friend of mine, and it turns out that he made some jokes which were off the cuff, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, Mr. Elliot Rogers, how could you? When Mr. Elliot Rogers rides alone, he rides with Hitler. Like, yeah, so I'll hold up the news regarding the journalist who did the Noopsie, and I want to read something that I found very interesting, very very interesting. And apparently, like, they take money, like people pay money for this. All right, let me just shut down Muti here. So people pay money, okay, in order to go for a 3-day training for white people working on diversity, equity, and inclusion. An everyday feminism training, healing from internalized whiteness. This is astonishing. Like, people pay money for this. Like, here's what I also think. Like, this is how I actually think this might be used. Maybe I'm wrong, but I wouldn't put it past it. Like, if I would, this is an opinion, right? So it's not backed up by fact or evidence, just what I think. And if I see a news coming like this tomorrow, I wouldn't be shocked. I was like, yeah, I expected this. Like, I genuinely think that the way this service is run is that if you work at a company, let's say you work at big tech or at Silicon Valley, and you do a oopsie, you do something that's not enough to fire you, but at the same time, like, it's still bad. What they will tell you, it's like, look, the diversity officer is probably going to tell you, you need to take this course. Okay, if you want to work at this company, you need to take the 3-day healing from internalized whiteness training. And like, as punishment, you probably take the course, and then you show that you had the thing. How is this money sinkhole existing? Like, they will never answer. Like, it's not like a product, where you can have some form of review, and you say, okay, this amount of people went through the training and they came out as being non-racist. Like, this doesn't even help you. If you're racist on Twitter, you can't say, well, look, I did the 3-day program, I'm not racist. No, it's not going to work like that. Everyone knows it. But I love the fact that this is such... it's plagiarizing religion is what it is. Like, what is the idea of Christianity? It's like, well, you have the original sin. Okay, you were born impure, and you need to now lead your life in a way that will redeem you from the original sin, and you will go to heaven. Like, that is pretty much like the basis of Christianity. This is how you convert people. It's like, well, why do you need to pray to Jesus? Because you're sinful. It's like, I'm not sinful, I didn't do nothing. The Adam and the apple. Right? So it's the same shit here. It's like healing from internalized whiteness. So internalized whiteness is the disease, and this is the cure. Like, you need to go and you need to listen to them so they can heal you. So that you can just, oh my god. But anyway, stop arguing with white people about racism and discover how to invite them into racial justice. Work for their own healing and liberation. So they're going to work for you. The kindness and compassion. See, you don't have to do anything. They will do it for you. They will work for you. Why it's a mixed blessing for racial justice right now. For so long, the work was focused on getting white people to acknowledge that racism is real and it's happening right now. And that was a super hard, emotionally exhausting, uphill battle for years. I mean, who am I to judge? When I was at the hospital and I saw doctors saving people, I thought that's an emotionally exhausting job. But, I need to go to a friend of mine who now works at pediatrics and tell him, it's like, look, nothing you do can compare with getting white people to acknowledge the racism. Okay, that's a real job. That's a hard job. What you're doing? Pah. Now with the Trump administration, blatant racist policies, more and more white people are acknowledging its existence. And they're desperate to do something to stop racism. That's great, but it's still not enough. It will never be enough. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. Like, these people, they have a business now. Can you imagine if you'd end racism? Like, if you'd press a button and you'd have like 100% equity and everything they desire, they would beat you if you tried to press the button. Like, they would prevent you physically from pressing that button. Like, they would lose money. They would lose their job. Like, where would they work? What skills do they have besides, They need racism. They desperately need it in order to justify their financial existence. We have a different obstacle in front of us now because privilege means that you don't know what you don't know. See, it's the same like religion. Like, if you don't know what you sinned. God knows. God knows in your heart. Just because you're ready to do something about white supremacy doesn't mean you even know what it actually is. It's like God. You don't really know God. You don't really understand Him. Just let the priest tell you about it. It's very interesting. Very interesting. So imagine telling a Jewish person who was, in a labor, in a death camp, doing the labor, telling him that, did you ever stop to think that the Nazis are oppressing you? And the Jewish person would look at you and go like, no. It's like, let me tell you how oppressed you are. Let me tell you. Going to a black person on a plantation and, having to explain to him, it's like, look, sir, like, did you notice that none of the white folks work here and they're free to go? They're like, oh, I never thought about it that way. Now that you mention it, yeah, it does look like I'm a little bit oppressed. Like, here's the thing. People who are actually oppressed doesn't need a bourgeoisie wanka to tell them about their oppression. Like, they know. They're aware. And the people doing the oppression also know they're oppressing. Like, it's not, it's like going to a slave owner in the United States and say, hey, do you know you're oppressing black people? He would be like, yeah. This is the whole point. We kind of built our economy based around that. Like, of course they would, the same thing would be with, going to a Nazi. It's like, do you know you're oppressing the Jews by nationalizing their businesses and stuff? Like, yeah. Both the oppressor and the oppressed are fully aware of the relationship that's going on. It's not like, some secret meeting that needs to be told. So this is why I'm very skeptical. It's like, let me tell you about what white supremacy is. People often don't realize everyone, both white people and people of color, has internalized white supremacy to a certain degree because it's the air we breathe. Also, now you're breathing racism. I love how racism is the supernatural construct that they've created. It's in the air, it's in the water, it's internalized. It's like it can be whatever the fuck they want it to be. The thing they don't like, that's racism. And they always need to create it. Like, honestly, it's the same with religion, right? Like, in the beginning, religion was a guy who went in a cave and said that he spoke with the gods in the cave, right? And he would forbid people from going into that cave, and he would be the only one allowed in. But eventually, people would go in the cave, and they would find out that there are no gods in the cave. And then people were pissed. And now the god was moved. It's not in the cave anymore. It's on Mount Olympus. It's on a mountain, very tall. No one goes there. And eventually people go on the Mount Olympus and they don't find any gods there. And they're upset, right? And now, okay, God is in heaven. He's in the sky. You can't go there. And then people take rockets and they go to the heaven and they notice there is no God. And it's like, okay, well, now God is outside of the plane of existence, right? Like, always pushing it away. It's like another... And it's the same with racism. Right? It's like, okay, we ended racism. No. Now it's in the air. Now it's internal. Now it's in the air you breathe. Like, what the fuck? What's really even more interesting about it is that we live in the time, like right now in the West, that there has never been as little racism as we have now anywhere in time. It's a fact. Like, look at the statistics. But it's still not enough. And as I mentioned, like, it will never be enough, right? Because in the beginning, racism was considered like people doing racist actions. Like, for example, going in front of a black man's house, burning a cross, and then burning his house, right? Like, that is a problem. You can't have a functionable society if people act that way. So, doing racist things were wrong. And people cracked down on it. And eventually people stopped doing racist things. And then it was like the thought police. Okay, well, you're not doing racist things, but are you thinking racist thoughts? Because if you're thinking racist thoughts, then you might eventually do racist things. And people started cracking down on it to the point where people were getting fired, people were getting ostracized, right? And eventually people stopped even saying racist things. Like, if I look at how people behave in America compared to how people behave in Eastern Europe, light and day difference. But anyway, so people stopped saying racist things and thinking. And now it's like, no. If you associate with a person that does racist things, you're also guilty. It's like, but I'm not doing anything. No, but you're friends with this guy. So it's always like more. It's always more. Like, it's a never ending, and I'm pretty sure that even if they would eventually get people to disassociate from racists, it would be like, okay, well, you are guilty because I saw you on the street and someone said a racist joke and you walked past that person and you didn't challenge them and therefore you're a racist. It's like, but I didn't say the joke. It doesn't matter, like, you walked past it. It's like, but I don't know the guy. It doesn't matter, you walk past it and therefore, like, they will push it to that level. To the point where the amount of people they consider to be racist are going to be the overwhelming number of the population, while the people making the accusation are going to be a small fringe minority. It's going to get to that point. Like, they keep watering down the word. They constantly change the meaning of what it means to be racist. Should I even bring up that where the word, homework, kids, homework. I want everyone to do this homework for me and tell me tomorrow. When was the first time the word racist was used? I'm not going to tell. I'm going to leave you a homework. Do some search, do some googling. Find out for yourself, okay, when was the word racist ever invented and in what country it was used. Let's see if actually people know this. I got a super chat from my favorite Norwegian. We now have to wear witch doctor masks with political correct spices to purify the air. Yeah, it definitely goes to that part. People are saying Trotsky. Lenin invented it in Russia. That's a very interesting concept. Soviet Union, other people are saying. The commies. I don't know if I should make a video on it or not. But again, like, do your own research. Like, I'm sick of telling people what to think and directing them. No, just do your own research. Try to find out where the word racist was used the first one. Just Google it. It's really interesting. It has a very nice history. It has an interesting way it was used. So I'm definitely suggesting that people should definitely look into this. So the unconscious can make bringing white people into racial justice work extremely fraught. Unfortunately, this means most white people who are newly coming into racial justice work are still very unconscious of how unconscious they are about it. Yeah, but here's the thing, like, if people, okay, so if all white people who are coming are guilty of it, because you didn't say, okay, some white people who are coming are not racist, consciously or unconscious, doesn't this mean that it's normal? Like, if every single person thinks in a way, then, if all of the people are thinking that way, then it means it's normal, it's the standard. So they're not guilty of anything. Like, see, even the legal system doesn't punish someone for committing an unconscious crime. Like, we do take intent into account. But apparently, like, this is brainwashing. This is what you're doing. You're admitting that you're brainwashing people. It's a thing they're not aware, a thing that they're doing it up subconsciously, and through the 3-day healing process, you try to it's how is this not the same like the Christians used to have, like the gay camps, where they ask you to pray the gay away, pray to Jesus instead. But anyway, too often can mean them giving up on the work, continuously to beat themselves up or insisting that their racist actions aren't racist. So for those who want to keep trying alpha struggles, questions like, how can I make sure I don't accidentally say something racist when I don't know what's racist and what's not? Like, here's an excellent thing, right? Like, if you're a white person and you like rap music and you decide to wear bling and, you know, you use the signs you see like the rappers do, you know, use the gangsta signs or whatever, they will say, oh, this is cultural appropriation. Right? I have seen a white gentleman harassed in a university because he had dreadlocks. Okay, so it's cultural appropriation. On the other hand, if you say you don't like rap music and you hate it, then you don't like black people culture, and that's racist. So the correct way as a white person is to know your box and I guess not comment on rap music, like not have any opinion on it. You know what? Come to me. I will teach you. I will teach you the way. I will be like, fuck what other people think. Okay, you have the right of the First Amendment, and you can say whatever the fuck you want. And if other people don't like it, they can get you fired or they can get you kicked out of the university. But other than that, they can't do anything more. Okay, nothing more. They cannot do anything more to you than fire you. So you say whatever you want. Like stop trying to give these people money. How can I know that to do without burdening a person of color to educate me, but still somehow follow their leadership? Wow, tough question. It's like, why do you need a person of color to educate? Like, why can't it, isn't knowledge shared among people regardless of color? Like, are you saying that people of color have the ability of having certain knowledge and ideas that other people can't? I mean, that sounds racist to me, but the fuck do I know? How do I know when speaking up against racism ends up speaking over people of color? And you don't want to take away from their spotlight. I mean, I was under the impression that people of color would want racism to go away, but you know, it's also important who does the battle, I guess. Why the fuck am I even there? What I love is this ideology where it's people of color versus the world, right? Sorry, it's the other way around. It's white people versus the world. Because this is what people of color means. It means every single person that's not white. It doesn't mean blacks, it doesn't mean browns. It means if you're not white, then it's right. So you got this ideology where it's everyone against white people, but it's not racist because white people can't be racist, says the people pushing the ideology. How is this not oppressive in any way? Like, if I was an alien, look, if I was an alien and I go to another planet and I see that it's blue people versus everyone else on that planet, there's an ideology, and everyone is oppressing the blue people, and they're saying, look, blue people can't be oppressors, they can't be oppressed because they're the oppressors. You're like, well, how does this make sense? Like, what the fuck is it? Like, if you're saying white people versus everyone else, doesn't mean that white people are a minority? I mean, wouldn't they get minority status? Apparently not, by the way. Like, this is what's interesting. I read, because I was also thinking, like, what will happen when white people become a minority? Like, how will this ideology work? Because it can only work while you got white people as a majority, right? And apparently there was this article in the Huffington Post that was pointing to the fact that I believe evangelical Christians aren't a majority in America anymore. Like, they're below 50%. And I was laughing at it and I say, oh, let's see what social justice will do now. And as you're going in the comment section, you're seeing that people are saying, well, even if they're not the majority, they still have overwhelming power, so they're still the oppressors. So basically, the way this works is even if you have, like, I don't know, 10% white people, they will still claim that 10% has overwhelming power and it's okay to be racist against them. What do I do with my guilt around having white privilege? Nothing. Own it and be proud of it. What do I do when I realize it's been unconsciously stereotyping and judging people of color? Nothing. They probably judge you as well, so it's fine. Just don't act on it. You know, just don't act on it, but it's fine to judge and make your own impressions of other people. What do I do with my fear around talking to other white people about racism when they get so angry with me? Stop talking politics with other people. It's considering rude and disrespectful. Right? If you're at work, you're there to do work. If you're at your house, You're there to provide for your family, and if you're with your friends, then you can talk about politics. But don't be a twat. You know, like if you see everyone is against you, just shut the fuck up. That's my advice. What do I do with my fear that I'll never get it right, that I'll always mess up as a white person? Everyone messes up. Okay, it's fine. Just you get back up and you keep trying. And if people get upset, that's their fault, not yours. Remember, the only thing they can do is get you fired and get you kicked out of the university. But other than that, they can't do anything. Anything, they can't do anything against you. So, unless you're in Britain. If you're in Britain, they can also put you in jail. But other than that, nothing. Here's what people are saying. The training provides white anti-racists with crucial missing tools for the most challenging. By the way, when Sargon was talking about what was it? Oh yeah. About the alt-right working within social justice, right? And people laughed at him. And I think people laughed at him because he didn't know how to express what he actually wanted. But this is what they do. Like, this is the white identity within social justice. Like, this person is a white identitarian that's trying to teach white people how to act white within social justice. Like, this is the white identity that they are promoting, right? Like, if you are a white person, you do have a place in social justice, but you have to behave the way they act. Like, this is how they believe white people should act. So this is a person that is preaching white identitarianism. And it is acceptable because it's within social justice. If you're a white person, bow your head, follow the rules, don't speak over other, and do the training. Do the training for 3 days, and then you will get to know how to behave like a white person and be embraced by social justice. So, you know, like there are white identitarians, like this lady, for example, who is teaching white people how to behave white. And they're fine. Like, no one is attacking them. No one is calling them out for being racist. Because this is a racist concept, right? Like, you're targeting people based on skin color. And you're telling them that because they are the skin color, they need to act in this particular way. This is what they're doing. They want to create a white identity. Sodzeling the Great says, will you do a live stream let's play of a hentai game during the DND session? Absolutely not. The fuck are you thinking? Zliksan for $5. How long do you think white people in general will put up with this bullshit? Here's what I think about it. And this is like an honest to God answer. Most people don't give a single fuck about any of this. Most people, they have a routine. And they want to keep their routine. Like, for example, I'll talk to you about my mother. Right? Like, my mother goes to work from the morning. Right? She wakes up, smokes a cigarette, drinks her coffee, and then goes to work. She comes home at around 4 p.m. when she cooks, then has dinner with my dad, goes to bed, takes the afternoon nap, wakes up at around 6 and 7, does some house chores, maybe does a little shopping if it's needed, watches a movie, goes to sleep. That is the daily routine of my mother. And every single person, like the overwhelming amount of people have a similar routine. That might differ from here and there, but usually like this is what people do. They wake up, go to work, come home, do house chores, go to bed. Wake up, go to work, do house chores, go to bed. Unless you fuck with that routine, like for example in France, people find out they don't have money to go to work, to pay for the gas. Or people don't have money to pay for the taxes, or, you know, the wages go down. Unless you fuck up with that routine, most people don't give a shit what's going on. Like, they won't care. So, it's only until things go that bad that it fucks up with people's routines that people start talking about it. So, for example, in my case, right, like a lot of people play entertainment, right? Like they play video games. When they see that their video games turn into shit, then they start complaining because it affects their real life in a direct way. It's not an ideological way. It's not like, several years down the line is going to affect you. No, you're trying to play your video games, and they're not as entertaining as they used to be. So because of that, people start complaining. That is the only reason why people start protesting, right? Like when it affects them in a direct manner. And in France, for example, people can't go to work because of the gas prices, right? So yeah, they start rioting. By the way, the police started rioting in France. Let me show you about the police rioting in France because I found it a little bit interesting. I think I'm going to talk about PETA tomorrow. This might be the topic that I'm going to tackle. So apparently it's time for the Gillette Blues. So imagine when people riot so much, and they riot for so long that even the police gets tired of beating the protesters, and they're demanding more wages because it's like, look, every day I go to this protest and I have to beat people, and it's not good for my arm. Like I'm starting to get a little joint ache, and I need more money. I need more money if you want me to do this, right? Like my back hurts after beating so many protesters. I need something extra. And apparently the blue vests are protesting in France after 5 weeks of violent demonstrations. French police say they're exhausted, overworked, and underpaid. They got tired from beating the protesters. It's like, like how much tear gas can you... Like firing tear gas is a dangerous job. Like you inhale some of that shit. So, like using pepper spray, like you can spray it and the wind can blow in your face. Like it's a dangerous job to suppress the yellow vests. Police unions in France have repeatedly complained about fatigue in recent years, and the Gilets Jaunes Buffalo protests have pushed the force to a breaking point. France says they will hit the streets, calling themselves Les Gilets Blues. On social media, Police Union Alliance are calling the protest Act 1, using the same naming convention given by the Gilets Jaunes movement. On Twitter account, Alliance speaks of disdain for the Minister of Interior. Police union bosses are encouraging lawmakers to vote down the upcoming police budget this week that will see cuts across the force, and many fear working conditions would deteriorate. At a time when police security has been stretched thin, protest, terrorism, and the migrant crisis, police unions say that they are in need of more money, not less, to be able to properly pay the staff and new recruits. Yeah, no, I fully agree. And they definitely seize the moment. Police resources are not inexhaustible. We are practically at our maximum. 89,000 members of the armed forces through France. Out of 100,000, we can't do anymore. Another union, UNSA Police, said its members only would provide minimum services Tuesday and asked for a meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron. The union asked the government earlier this month for payment overtime hours, blah, blah, blah. It's interesting that they have a police union. Like in my country, there are a couple of jobs. I believe it's like the firefighters, the police, the army, obviously, and a couple of more that don't have unions. And you know about this when you go for that job. Like when you apply for, like you choose to go to the police force, you know that you can't be on strike and you can't have a union. Apparently that's not the case in France. Apparently we're going to see the blue vests. How long do you think it will be, as Lyson, until someone whose life is ruined, fired, etc., due to social justice, snaps and kills someone responsible? I'm amazed it hasn't happened yet. I don't think it will happen. And if it will happen, it will be incredibly stupid, because then they will advocate for even more authoritarian measures. The way you could actually, like if you really want to change things and you don't care about your personal safety anymore, like they would get you fired and completely ostracized. If I was that person, simply committing suicide in a very public manner would definitely get the news to talk about you, and they would start talking about it. But even then, like, I don't think it would influence much, because they will say, "Oh my God, what a tragedy," and then move on. Um, but they do seem to care more when people commit suicide rather than when people commit when people take the law in their own hands. Um, like, what's interesting with the yellow jackets, it's really interesting to see what they will do after the New Year's. Because the New Year's are coming, people don't want to protest during the New Year's, people want to celebrate and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see if they are going to manage to remain strong. I mean, 5 weeks of violent protests, it's insane. Like, these people are at their breaking point. Like, 2/3 of the country supports the yellow vests. Like, the only thing President Macron should do now would be to have snap elections. But I guess he's also waiting to see what happens after the New Year's, to see if people are going to calm down a little bit. Have I been to Paris in the last years? It's a fucking slum. I want to go to Disneyland. It's one of my dreams since I was a little child, since I was a wee young lad, but I never managed to do it. And apparently people tell me don't go to Paris, it's bad. Now, I've been to London, and I liked it. I loved London. I think it's a really cool city for tourists. I think it's a horrible city to live in. But as a tourist trap, it's an excellent place. And I don't know, like, how different Paris is compared to London. Go to Orlando Disney World. I don't want to spend 13 hours on a plane flight. That is insane. Don't, unless you want to wait in line until your pension kicks in. How bad can it be? Famous last words. Right. I have found an interesting picture. Viewer discretion is advised. But fuck you, fascism. And we got this lovely lady, I suppose. Don't know if it's Photoshop or not, but she has a message for all you fascists out there. Now, I don't think she is going to actually succeed in her anti-fascist campaign, because if I was a person that doesn't know much about politics, I will be, well, I don't know how bad fascism is, but at least they don't have her in that group. Like, people are going to be more willing to run as far away as they can, and very, very interesting, right? But yeah, I think that fascism has it in for it, knowing that that lady is. Do you know what to say? Like, Jack Conte. What am I allowed to say regarding that? Because Jack Conte is like Santa Claus. He's watching every time I talk, and he's sitting on my shoulder making a list to see who's naughty and nice. And I need to know, like, everything is Patreon approved. Everything that I do, Jack Conte is there. I bet that if tomorrow, if I go on Pornhub and I comment on a video, if I become that person, like, honestly, this is something that I never understand. Who on earth comments on porn video? Like, what type of person do you need to be to actually leave a comment on a porn video? But anyway, right, that's not my point. So if I would be that type of person to comment on a porn video, Jack Conte would be there. Jack Conte would be there, and he would be watching. Because he mentioned that he follows me all over the internet. All over, everywhere I go, everywhere. If I'm at the bathroom taking a shite and I open my smartphone, Jack Conte is there. He's watching. They're ever so vigilant. This is the new motto that Patreon needs to have. Patreon, we're always watching. Let me show you something else, like a motto for Twitter now. Because if we covered Patreon, we can't leave Twitter out of it. And I think this is a motto that people should definitely embrace. Where the hell is it? Because I tweeted. There we go. See, this is something that Twitter needs to have. Let's get Muti away from here. Get fired from your job in 5 to 10 years. Join Twitter today. Say anything you want, wait 5 to 10 years, surprise, you're fired. Isn't this like a good advertisement for Twitter? Isn't it like the best shit ever? Like, I genuinely believe that this should be like their logo. We help you get fired, that twat. And for Patreon, we are always watching. Susan Anderson for $10. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. That is a definitely good ad. You know, I'm not making Goblin Slayer anymore. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not finding it entertaining. Like, the last episode was a shopping session, and I said no, fuck that shit. No, like, no. Let's see what else we got. This one was a spicy meme. California text tax would add fee to phone bills for text messages. Then you got a $5 pocket solid vest, high visibility safety vest, and for $5.99 safety vest, class 2 reflective tape, high visibility. Yeah. I did think, like, if you want to hit the bourgeoisie, yeah, definitely go for the text messages, or put the luxury tax on smartphones. That's also something that you can do. By the way, I remember when in my country there was actually it costed money in the beginning to send text messages. Like, sending text messages, and the minutes you would spend on phone calls would actually charge you. So I remember, like, my dad was very pissed off. It's like, why are you sitting like a bitch on the phone? How long are you going to talk? Don't you know it costs money? And I'm like, oh, okay. If you want to talk so much, go meet up for a cup of coffee. It's cheaper. Then I grabbed these boobies, Merkel, yeah. Merkel doing the honk honk. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you all in 1 hour and 30 minutes on Sargon of Akkad channel. Going to play Dungeons and Dragons. And if I'm lucky, tomorrow I'm going to play Pathfinder with Christy Winters. Now, here's a problem. I wanna promote someone. Let me see if I can promote the gentleman that I like. His name is Chili Bite. And I'll show you the type of videos he makes. If my computer wants to, all right.
Through the Stonka tribe and into East Akkad, with King Ralph taking the opportunity to come from the southeast and claim skeptic land for himself.
Morale is weak. There have been mass defections from both nobles and commoners alike. The Empire is...
Okay, so he has this channel called what is it? It's just Chili Bites, is it? And he makes the official Sargon of Akkad anime.
It's better be good. I'm supposed to be at work by now. Fucking Yankee time zone.
Let me see if I can find one that's a lot more digestible. See if there we go. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Let me just turn this to the max, turn the volume a little bit, and now we can.
When we all need to talk about it. What we have here is a problem that's very, very important when we all need to talk about it. It's something that should be taken very seriously and not joked about, because this affects the lives of not only oneself, but people all over the world, especially in Britain and in the European Union. That's why we need...
You faggot fuck! Oi! Oi, Sargon! Tell us how that EU article went. Did you win? I haven't figured it out yet. Oi, Sargon! Would you mind putting the tea on while I watch your entire country fall apart? Oi, Sargon! You not saying anything, mate? Oi, Sargon!
yours, you knob. You're a bloody pedophile, you is.
I'm a what?
You groom children and have them go do your farts out in the streets, yeah? You're nothing more than a chap with a knife, yeah?
Fuck you, soy boy. What do? You chase after crap. You can't even get it on with your wife. You're nothing but a goddamn cock.
You what, mate? You what, mate? You can't talk like that to me, mate. You show some bloody respect when you're stepping up to me, yeah? This is how we do things organised. You're talking to the Roman sons of the Queen, yeah? You're talking to the bloody British dog, yeah? You got to show some respect against the imperialists.
What the fuck are we watching?
I think they call it democracy.
So I really like his takes on the YouTube community. He also draws me in a very interesting way. Let's see if I can find an example.
You must be one of the UK police officers.
This is his interpretation of me. I'm a little bit disappointed. Tits are too small. But other than that, no, seriously, I really like this guy, and I wanted to play Pathfinder with him and Christy Winters. And the happy thing, the good news, is that he said yes. And I was like, hey, we finally get to play. But unfortunately, the gentleman is from Australia. And Australia is the only country with the most messed up time zone in the world. And apparently scheduling Dungeons and Dragons between Europeans like myself and Christy Winters, Americans like the GM and the other guys, and an Australian is impossible. Like we couldn't find the timetable. And I'm really, really upset about it. Really bummed up. But yeah, no, like I'll try. I'll try my best. I'll try to get something to work out because it's he seems like a very good role player. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all guys tomorrow. V, why do you always hang out with people that make fun of you? This is why people say you get kicked out by everyone at least once. You know, this is a good question. If I can't make fun of myself, and if I don't appreciate, humor, then I would be a stuck-up person. And I would take myself way too seriously. So I don't mind, like, if people legitimately make fun of me for something that I actually did, which is funny, they should. The only thing I don't like is when people lie and slander about me. But if it's like legitimate thing that I did, which is funny or silly or stupid, then yeah, by all means. See you all in 1 hour and 30 minutes. Sargon of Akkad's channel.